Chapter 29. Revelations. Nurin stood up from the dinner table and motioned for the children to follow her. With a buzz of excitement and a boost of adrenaline, they all got up and went back into the living room, where the fire was still burning in the grand fireplace. When everyone sat down, Nurin took a deep breath and proceeded to tell the story of the sun, the earth, and the moon. She told the children, "The sisters granted powers to all the people of the world. Then they set out to find two people they deemed to be worthy. When they found them, the two came to be known as the Keepers. But the sisters didn't only grant powers, they also helped the Keepers discover the powers they possess within. The two used their newfound talents to help others find their hidden gifts. Over time, the Keepers formed an army of extraordinary young people who fought to protect the earth from evil spirits known as Jinn. Many years ago, there was a great war fought in the shadows between the Jinn and the Keepers' army. Many lost their lives, but eventually the Jinn were defeated and forced back to the underworld. Using the power of the sun, the majesty of the earth, and the magic of the moon, the flame of life was given to the Keepers to watch over. The legend goes, as long as the flame burned, the earth would be safe from Jinn." Adam interrupted. "What does all this have to do with you and Asur?" "Your grandfather and I first met when we were about the same age you and Verona are now. I lived in a small village in India. Asur lived in the neighboring village. One day, we both happened to be at the same outdoor market, and without noticing each other, we both reached for the same mango." Nurin smiled before continuing. "Even though we were both very young, it was love at first sight with your grandfather and me. Over the next 5 years, we would do anything we could to see each other. We were so in love, but in those days, we had to keep our relationship a secret. Even still, we managed to do almost everything together. We were practically inseparable. But growing up in India, I was not free to date or have a husband of my choosing. I finally gathered the courage to tell my parents about Asur. But Asur's family were not prominent members of the community and, therefore, did not have the alleged requisite status to marry me. You see, my father held a position in the local government. It was not a big deal, but it was enough to expect more from his daughter's potential suitors. I was never able to convince my father to give his blessing and allow Asur to marry me. Eventually, my mother began looking for my future husband. But when I refused, my father got very angry. Later that night, I overheard my father talking to my mother, and although I could probably never prove it, I knew that Asur was in danger. So, that very night, I packed a bag and ran away. We were 17 years old and in love. We ran away together and got married. We never looked back. I was sad to leave like that, but I never once regretted it. We spent the next 5 years working together at a children's hospital in India, helping in any way we could. Asur admired one of the doctors there. He was very kind, and so we decided to change our name. We chose his name. We were now Asur and Nurin Qureshi. Then one night, I had a dream, or at least I thought it was a dream at the time. Asur and I were awoken. We came face to face with 3 beautiful women, dressed in flowing and glowing gowns, one in yellow, one in green, and one in purple. They introduced themselves as Nyla, Terra, and Kurian, or in English translation, Sun, Earth, and Moon. The 3 told us that we had been chosen because they believed we both were truly worthy. The dream was very surreal and very powerful. The next morning, I started telling Asur about my fantastic dream when he told me that he had the exact same dream. Over the next 2 weeks, the 3 sisters would appear to us every night. They warned us of the dangers of this world, and they taught us how to defend the earth. They showed us our powers. I guess you can say we were recruited, and from that day on, we were known to a select few as the Keepers. Verona added, "Asur's fire. He's the keeper of the flame, isn't he?" Nurin looked at Verona, questioning how she could possibly know that, but then relented. "Yes, he is." "But you have the same fireplace," Jack interjected. Nurin took a deep breath. "After the Great Shadow War, Asur and I lived in Europe for a while longer. Even though the Jinn had been defeated, a small number of them still wandered in the darkness of Asia and Europe. Although they were now very weak, our concern was that every time another tragedy happened, more and more Jinn would be born. This realization deepened our fears that the Jinn would continue to walk and search the old world until they found the flame. We knew that if they found it, they would douse it. If this happened, nothing could prevent them from returning to power. Asur kept the flame burning wherever we went, so we kept moving around Europe in attempts to keep the Jinn off the scent. When we heard of people heading to the New World, we managed to hop on a ship bound for America. At this, Adam shot a look over in Jack's direction and mouthed the words, "The New World?" Nurin didn't notice and kept telling her story. It was difficult to keep the flame burning during the long voyage, but Asur had become very adept at attending to that fire. It started to seem like it was the only thing he ever paid attention to. Once we landed in America, we believed that we would be safe from the Jinn, with an entire ocean between us, and indeed, we were for a very long time. Still, Asur and I continued to remain vigilant. He was obsessed with tending to his fire. Truthfully, he was always the one most dedicated to the mission. He was the strong one. I always had a secret longing for a normal life, but I was a fool. After many years, I began to slowly convince Asur that the flame was safe from Jinn, which meant the earth was safe. "We have done our job," I would tell him. We began to relax and started to truly reconnect. We eventually remembered how to truly love each other again. It was like I was waking up after years of living in a fog. I felt alive again. I had always dreamt of starting a family. After years of wearing him down, I finally convinced Asur. Nurin once again turned towards Adam and said in a soft but cheerful voice, "We had your mother, and I was finally truly happy, and I think Asur was too. He adored Maha and called her his little moonbeam." She quickly saddened again and continued, "But in our bliss, we let down our guard and lost our focus. We were derelict in our duties, and I knew it was all my fault. Slowly, things started happening that were all too familiar. You see, Jinn are born of fire. They carry that heat with them. This tends to cause massive weather change and very often severe storms." All the children looked at each other, remembering the storms they had all just gone through. Nurin continued, "They had found us. To do our jobs and protect the earth, we had to refocus, stop being selfish, and once again make the difficult choices necessary to protect the world. We had to split the flame. It was decided that Asur would take the flame somewhere the Jinn hopefully couldn't find it, and also protect our little girl. I had to let him go. I would be left to raise your mother on my own. We decided we needed an insurance policy. A small piece of the flame was left with me. It was the hardest decision I ever had to make. We loved each other so much, but we were chosen by powers beyond us, and we had to do everything we could to honor that great responsibility, even if it cost us everything we loved in this world. Even though I knew what we had to do, as Asur was walking away, I couldn't help but call out for him not to go. Just like his grandmother, Adam now had tears in his eyes. He asked, "Does my mother know?" Nurin just looked down as if she was too ashamed to answer. She shook her head. Adam was still trying to make sense of all this, and he still didn't want any of it to be true. He once again challenged the story, protesting, "For now, let's ignore the insanity of the earth, moon, and sun, or whatever their names were, coming to you in a dream. If there was a great shadow war, as you call it, how come I have never heard about it? What do you mean, the new world?" Nurin stood very still and looked deeply and caringly into Adam's eyes. She reached out and held both Adam and Lake's hands and said, "That's because it wouldn't be found in any history book. It was fought in the shadows. And although there were many casualties, they were mostly mistakenly attributed to the Black Plague, also known as the Black Death." "The Black Plague?" Adam loudly interrupted. Nurin slowed her speech and dropped her bombshell. "I met Asur, my future husband, and your future grandfather, in the year 1334. That was almost 700 years ago." There were about 10 intolerably long seconds of stunned silence until, almost in a chorus, the children all shouted, "What?" Then they all collapsed, silent and speechless again. Nurin continued to explain. "The flame not only has the power to protect the earth from Jinn, but it also causes the keepers of the flame to age very slowly, which, of course, means that if the flame has truly been put out, then Asur is in grave danger, and neither he nor I will have very long left. We are all in danger, because it also means the Jinn are once again regaining power," Jack reasoned. "But if the flame still burns here, then the earth is still safe, correct?" Nurin looked uncertain. "My fire has been slowly dying over the last couple of weeks. I can't seem to completely revive it. Asur is the true keeper of the flame. It was the job he was given. I am merely an insurance policy. You all need to get this fire back to Asur as soon as possible." Verona got a terrified look on her face and whispered, "What do you mean, you all? We were sent to get you and to bring you back with us and help. You are coming with us, right?" "I am truly sorry, my child, but I cannot leave this place. Asur knows that. No, if Asur sent you to me, it is because he needs the flame, and he sees something in you. He needs me to get it out of you. That's my job. That's my gift." Lake's eyes began to water, and then she managed to say, "What about my mom and dad? You must come back with us. You are all we have left." Nurin quickly reached out and touched her granddaughter's arm and said, "I want nothing more than to be with you. But the last time I strayed from my duty, the world was put in danger. I can't help you." Adam understood what his grandmother was saying, but this wasn't a fight they could face alone. He looked at his grandmother and sister and reasoned, "The world is already in danger. My grandfather, your husband, is already in danger. We need you. Please, just try." All the other children wanted nothing more than to have Nurin's help. She had already fought against the Jinn, and she would be the perfect teacher. Nurin could feel their dependence on her. She realized that the sisters had given her the task of helping the world, and there was no better way to do it than to help these children. After a moment of hesitation, she said, "I will try, but for now, you need to train. We will talk again in the morning. You all need to get some rest because tomorrow is going to be a long day."